Regarding Lady Fatima alayhi salam, we believe whoever performs good actions in this world and loves Fatima Zahra will go to Jannah. We also believe that Fatima Zahra alayhi salam isn't a role model who is exclusive only for women, but she is also a role model for men. Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, the Holy Prophet has said, Fatimatu bad'atun minni. Fatima is a part of me. What does he mean by this though? As in, when you look at a biological relationship between Fatima Zahra and the Holy Prophet, Fatima Zahra is the daughter of the Holy Prophet. But here the Prophet is trying to say something which is greater than that. Number one, Fatima is a part of me in terms of risalah. This means my message of Islam isn't disconnected with the actions that Fatima takes. Furthermore, Fatima alayhi salam is also related to the decision making of the Holy Prophet. Now one might wonder, how is Fatima Zahra related to the decision making of the Holy Prophet? Well, when you look at the other hadith by the Prophet where he says, whatever makes Fatima happy makes me happy. So here he's showing to us that whatever Fatima takes, her actions in her life, it makes me happy. And so they're directly linked. When we establish this as our basis, when we establish that Fatima Zahra is this noble woman, and when we look at both Shia and Sunni literature, we find that there's a lot of praise for Fatima Zahra. As in, when you look at the ahadith of the Prophet has two narrations which are narrated in both books. Narration number one, Fatimatu Sayyidatun Nisa'il Alameen. And the second narration, there are 4 women who are created by Allah who are the greatest women of all time. Who are they? Number 1, Asiya, the wife of Fir'aun. Number 2, Sayyidah Maryam, the mother of Jesus. Number 3, Sayyidah Khadija, the daughter of Khuwaylid. And number 4, Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Now one might argue that Fatima Zahra isn't the greatest woman who was created of all time. How might this argument arise? When you look at Surah Al-Imran, verse 42, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وقال الملائكة يا مريم إن الله اصطفاك وطهرك واصطفاك على نساء العالمين. O Mary, Allah has chosen you and purified you over the rest of the women of all worlds. The Mufassirun have made an attempt to argue this by saying that Mary, she was the greatest woman in her generation and her time. But Fatima Zahra, her greatness is already established in the Quran through the ayah of Tathir, the ayah of Mubahila as well. And then furthermore, when you look at Fatima Zahra, the two, you find that the love between them was greater than just a father and a daughter love. When a daughter normally enters a room, the father, you don't really expect him to stand up out of respect. But when Fatima Zahra would enter a room, the Holy Prophet would stand up. He would kiss her hand and make sure she sits right beside him. That was the love between them. And that's how Rasulullah always tried to make Fatima Zahra, he tried to make her greatness known to the Muslim Ummah so that we can learn from her and we can take her teachings and apply it to our lives. Now a question arises. If the Holy Prophet has said so many quotes regarding Fatima alayhi salam, for example, there will be 12 Imams from me and they will all be the descendants of Fatima alayhi salam. Now, these quotes are all clear. They're written in the history books. How did history deny Ahlul Bayt their right when they knew that they're all going to be the descendants of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Now, amongst the Muslims back in the time, they made a couple arguments. They said, number one, Fatima cannot be a successor or an inheritor of the Prophet because she's a woman. Jesus, he was the descendant of which Prophet? Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Prophet Ishaq alayhi salam. Who was he a descendant from? Through whom? He was a descendant through Maryam alayhi salam. So then the argument arises, why can't the Imams be the descendants from Prophet Ibrahim and then to Prophet Ismail through Fatima Zahra alayhi salam? Another argument which they try to say is that Fatima is weak because she's a woman, and women tend to be emotional. Now, after the demise of the Holy Prophet, Fatima alayhi salam went to Masjid al-Nabawi and gave a khutbah. In the khutbah, she said, "O Muslims, you are lowly people. You used to bury your daughters alive. You used to worship idols which you carved out of stone. But it was my father who فَانْقَذَكُمْ مِنْهَا. You are on the very edge of hellfire, but Allah saved you through the Holy Prophet alayhi salam." Now the second point which arises now, when we look ثاني غفر الله لكم. So you see that Fatima alayhi salam, she gave this khutbah in 11 AH. Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he became the caliph, he also gave a khutbah. And in that khutbah, he said, "O lowly people, you used to worship idols. You used to create these idols out of stone. You used to bury your daughters alive. And it was through the Holy Prophet Muhammad that you were saved." So Imam Ali alayhi salam used the exact same words as Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. But when did Imam Ali alayhi salam deliver this? Imam Ali alayhi salam delivered this khutbah in the year 37 AH. Fatima Zahra delivered it in 11 AH. The difference is 26 years. If a man like Ali ibn Abi Talib, a man who used to say, "Ask me before you lose me," is borrowing and taking speech from Fatima Zahra, then how can we say she was emotionally weak or she didn't have the intelligence? Just to conclude now, Fatima Zahra, the Holy Prophet has a narration where he says, "A daughter is a mercy and a son is a blessing." The Quran in Surah Al-Anbiya states, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. The Prophet was sent but as a mercy for mankind. A daughter is a mercy for a father. Fatima Zahra was a mercy for the mercy of the worlds. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.